I'm hoping that we can talk about, one, some parent resources that I have kind of coming your way and things that'll be, I think will be of use to you guys. Two, we'll talk about when kind of Apex is going to start meeting up in person again, a little bit about this summer, and we'll touch on a few events for the summer, but mostly we're going to be talking about the third option is the mission trip for this summer that we're going to be offering for middle school and high school trips, or middle school and high schoolers. So I actually have two options for mission trips, but everyone in this meeting is kind of going to be looking at one. And so basically what we're looking at, I will get to that in a little bit. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with parent resources. So one thing I'm really excited about rolling out this year is kind of a resource that I believe is going to be very helpful for parents to have kind of the difficult conversations with teenagers. So pretty regularly I'll get an email or a phone call or something that'll say like, hey, my kid got into this or discovered this, or my kid is now involved in this and I don't know what to do with it, and just kind of some questions. And so the main thing that we've been kind of going through there is just coaching conversations and kind of how to enter into those difficult conversations with a gospel-centered focus. And so what I ended up doing is we found this resource called Access, and Access is a Christian organization that their name comes from the idea of basically the intersection where culture meets a biblical worldview. And it's like at that intersection is where we have these difficult conversations. And Access is designed for parents to enter into, they have hundreds of resources of just conversations and topics from, actually I have a few coming up, but like just tons of conversations. And one of the resources they have are these conversation guides that like you read over before you go into that conversation, and you can kind of like see like, well, what does the Bible say about this? Or if it does at all, or how can we apply wisdom principles to this type of topic, or whatever it is. They also provide conversation kits, which are like basically YouTube videos that are designed to be watched with your teenager, things that you can go through and just like be together. They'll ask questions, kind of like how Apex has actually been doing our weekly videos. It's a similar concept, but this one is just kind of those weird conversations. And then they also have what they call, I don't remember what they're called, but they're basically seminars. Like they have seminars where they interview experts on the matter, and then they record all of these seminars and allow for people to watch them and just kind of and learn from the experts on kind of the big topics. Normally for Access, a membership for a parent would be $100 for an annual pass. And then you'd have all these things. Apex has purchased a congregational membership. And so anybody who has a student in Apex is actually, they have access to all of the resources that Access has to provide. Now the PDF, the PDF conversation guides, what I'm going to do is I actually have purchased like a spinning carousel thing, and I'm going to put a few out in the Cross Connect area that we can just like have out there ready to go. Dan and I have been kind of reviewing them. Jed is now reviewing a few, as well as Jen has been looking over a few. They all are really great. Like we love their focus. It's all gospel centered, but then they go through this kind of like topically of just what you're conversing about right now. And so we'll have those available. But if you want access to the internet site, like the website, to have access to the videos, to have access to those seminars, and to have access to all of these PDFs just in digital form, you can actually log on to that as well. It's an extra $5 to get your own personal login, but you can actually get access to that as well. So just email me. You can email me at Kale@Crossview Rapids, and I'll get you a link to basically get in there and you can get your own online. Otherwise, like I said, I'll have printed out PDF versions of some of these. I think not all of them. I'm not going to put all of them out there, but what I will do is I'll put a catalog in the Cross Connect that will have everyone that's not currently on public display, things that that you might be like, oh, I wish they had this topic. You can look through. Like I said, they have over 100 of these parent guides, and so I'll have access to all of that and can give you any information you want. Like I said, they also have these conversation kits, which are designed to be watched with them. And so a lot of them are like multiple sessions. And so they're on just complicated topics. And they have them on things like dating, like the one that I have on the screen. And so it's like, oh, okay, my son or daughter is starting to think about this. What should we do? And you can kind of like watch through this together. And what's cool about, I think, about these conversation kits is it allows for questions for you to kind of share, like, well, this is, you know, like, this is what our family practices. These are our specific rules. And it kind of gives you that freedom to kind of enter into that conversation in a kind of more natural way, which I really like. But they have these videos on anxiety, doubt, pornography, drugs, leadership, prayer, evangelism, spiritual warfare, identity, all kinds of things. Like, they have tons of these videos, and like I said, over 100 of those conversation kits. And so or conversation guides. Sorry, I'm trying to adopt their language. These are conversation kits, the videos, and the conversation guides are the paper PDFs. But basically, this will be rolled out to the church in the next couple weeks as we're kind of printing out and getting these out to be accessed for you guys, and then you can have these whenever you want. So this year, I'm excited to announce that we are doing a mission trip. I know there's a lot of questions like, are we doing this because of COVID, or are we gonna, like, is it canceled again this year? And it's, we are going to be partnering with YouthWorks, who has been doing mission trips for 20 years, and they have pretty awesome rapport kind of within our district, and it sounds like they're taking this COVID restrictions, everything, like they're taking it head on and taking this seriously. And I've just been they've been impressing me, I guess, essentially in what they plan to do. But this year we plan to take our 8th grade all the way to 12th grade together. And then the incoming 6th graders and the incoming 2nd graders are going to get another parent meeting in the near future. And basically what we're going to be looking at with them is something a little more local and a little bit easier. But for the 8th grade, the incoming 8th graders, so current 7th graders going into 8th grade all the way to incoming 12th graders, we will be going to Milwaukee and from June 27th through July 2nd. And like I said, we're doing this with YouthWorks. And so YouthWorks is I have some notes for me on this one. They're a Christ-centered mission trip, and they've been like doing this for all over the US and beyond. And they basically believe that this kind of mission trip experiences will impact communities that they're partnering with, but also the teenagers who are going, as well as the adult leader disciples who are coming to build these trips and disciple their teenagers. I have a quick video, a 2-minute video to watch kind of what they have to say on this topic. So let's just quick watch what they have to say.
Are youth mission trips about teenagers?
Or are they about communities?
Well, mission trips can pull teenagers out of their comfort zones to more fully engage in the bigger story of what God is doing in the world. Mission trips allow students to get away so they can draw close, step up, and reach out. Mission trips have the potential to broaden perspectives, ignite passions, expose possibilities, and inspire lifelong pursuits. So, mission trips are about teenagers.
But why go if we don't listen carefully, understand more deeply, serve humbly, and build meaningful relationships? These big cities and small towns are steeped in stories of strength and hardship. More than simply sharing about the stories of communities, mission trips allow us the opportunity to share in their stories, to participate in God's plan for these places. So mission trips are about communities.
So, which is it?
Here's what we've learned. It can't be communities or teenagers.
And it's not teenagers, then communities.
It's got to be teenagers plus communities.
It's not an easy equation. Every day, it challenges us to ask, how do we create mission trips that honor God, respect communities, and develop teenagers? How do we move students past surface-level service to a deeper understanding of God and others? How do we come into communities, not as parents who know best, but as partners who listen and learn and come alongside?
And every day, we'll keep asking these questions because we believe in the incredible potential of this trust. We see how God brings together the unique stories of teenagers with the rich history of communities to open eyes and capture hearts, to strengthen relationships and develop disciples, to intertwine unlikely storylines and bring about something beautiful.
We love teenagers.
Plus, we deeply care about communities.
We are YouthWorks.
So yeah, like what I said, what I like about YouthWorks, they established 1994. They've been partnering with specifically Milwaukee since 1999. So they have a long-standing relationship with the city of Milwaukee and a lot of the places there. And so what they do is they partner with churches, kind of like what we did with Next Step Ministries. Actually, and the only reason we're not going with Next Step this year is not because we didn't like them. Actually, I loved Next Step to Madison, but their community just wasn't quite ready to open back up again this year. And so they said maybe in the future, but right now, like what I love about YouthWorks is, like I said, they have this development with these communities, and and so I'm always weary when it comes to mission trips because I don't want to just like come in and just like kind of cause chaos and then leave, you know. And it's like, well, these people are there all summer long, and they're kind of like hosting these trips as they come in, and they have this really great vision of being like, well, we are there to serve, but we are also there to disciple. And so it's like, well, our team is there to disciple our team as well, and teach our students how to serve and how to love others, basically, and love God and share the gospel and talk about these harder topics. So I want to talk quick about kind of
Our youth mission trip.
We talk about trip requirements. So basically at the beginning of summer 2021, that they would have to be, I already kind of explained this, between 8th and 12th grade, be willing to submit to authority, demonstrate servant's heart, be willing to embrace adventure, new things, be flexible and have a positive attitude, and then agree to these rules. To be able to participate in the preparation process, to keep the terms of our team covenant, which we'll talk about on our first meeting. We'll have a team covenant plan. I'll do my best to not complain during the project, obey leadership, not use profanity, not use and or purchase alcohol, drugs, or tobacco, adhere to a dress code, follow safety precautions. And then these last four are actually, or the last three of these last four are new to this trip. And basically it's this idea of, if I have a phone, I agree that I'll keep it on airplane mode when I'm serving the community during work hours and other than
we haven't heard anything, so it's a day-to-day thing, and my mom's gonna call us.
Sorry, Eddie, I think we got
any day now, so we're just, it's a waiting game.
Hey Eddie, I think we got you on here. I think we got a mute. So basically, this is a new rule, and we kind of, and after kind of thinking about it, like I said, we just want to make sure like kids can have their cell phones, but just to keep them on airplane modes during work hours, other than occasional or rare photo opportunities. Then I will refrain from using it entirely until evening times of free time. If I ignore the previous rule and my adult leaders feel that I'm using my phone excessively or inappropriately, I will be warned. If I continue to use my phone and my leader, if I continue and my leader asks for my phone, I will willingly surrender my phone without complaint. My phone will not be returned to me until evening. 1 second. Let's see if I can. That's good now. Okay. If this happens the second day in a row, my parents will be called and my phone will be stored in a safe place for the remainder of the trip. And I understand if I break the terms of this agreement, my leaders may choose to send me home at my own expense. That hasn't happened. I hope that never happens. But the idea is I wanted to kind of like allow, like I know a lot of students use their phones for cameras and things like that. And as long as they're on airplane mode and they're not using them for games or chatting with people back home or anything like that, like I think that it's okay. But they have to understand that there are consequences. Like they basically get to choose how that situation plays out, as opposed to me confiscating them all right away or something like that. Travel information, we're gonna be meeting at Crossview on Sunday, June 27th at the front doors by 1:30, departing by 2, and then arriving at 4:30. I'm going to have a packet available as well, like a paper PDF packet available at Crossview that you can get on Sunday morning. Or if you go into Planning Center, just about an hour before this meeting started, I finally made this public, like on the Planning Center. You can also get this information in the app in the events tab for Apex Reaches Milwaukee. And then lodging, we'll be staying at one of the local church partnerships. They don't tell us where this is yet. Just like Next Step Ministry, we didn't get to know until a couple weeks out kind of which church they were partnering with at that time that we'd be staying at. But students separated, we do know that they'll be able to have separate spaces by gender and sleeping in common areas such as gyms or worship centers. They said they highly recommend like a twin-sized air mattress or sleep pad, but it can't be any larger than that. So I looked online, I saw a couple for like $30 on Amazon. I have extra pumps, so that you don't need to buy one of those unless it comes kind of inside of it or something like that. Yeah. Now here's the biggest question. Okay, so what does it cost is kind of the big question. And so the cost, I try to keep it as low as possible with the cost of the lodging, with the cost of youth works, and the cost of van rentals. Comes down to $525. And $525 just flat. Any adult leaders who want to come on this trip would get a $200 discount, essentially, is what they could get to go on this trip too. So if you as parents are considering you want to volunteer and come down with us, it would be a $200 discount. And what that would mean is getting a coupon code for me. So you got to tell me, and then as you're registering, you'd have a spot at the end to get that coupon code. Now, I know this seems expensive, especially if we're like, okay, well, we're just going to Milwaukee for a week. The good news is we will have fundraising opportunities. Our two primary fundraisers are going to be through the Mission Coffee House. We've partnered with Mission, and they said if we sell their coffee bags, basically it's $10 for a large bag of coffee, and for every $10 bag of coffee, the student will get $5 that goes directly towards the trip. And so, which is pretty sweet. That's like way better than like the Girl Scout cookies turnaround or anything like that. Like, actually was pretty happy about that. So we can do that. Well, also the main other one will be the letter writing campaign. So for anyone who went on or had students who went on the previous mission trips 2 years ago, you'll know that we went to, the middle schoolers went to Madison, high schoolers went to Mexico. That Mexico trip, several of our students were able to raise $1,600 mostly in their letter writing campaign. Like, this is one of the best ones for them. And then we also will be doing a little bit of Rent-A-Student. It won't be the same as last time. So with our last Rent-A-Student, it was like a 10-week period thing, and we had multiple times. What I had found is it was about like somewhere between 15 and 20 extra hours a week for me just to organize that. It was very difficult. And then with COVID on top of it, it just became a very difficult process. And so what we're planning to do, kind of in lieu of this normal kind of typical weekly one, is more along the lines of like, we'll have a large scale, like, okay, here is a date, church, feel free to sign up for your events that you need done, and we'll see who of our students are willing to work on that date, and we'll kind of assign kind of first come, first serve on where those have signed up. And we might do a couple of those, but it won't be quite the same as in the previous years where we just assigned out way in advance or something like that. That was just a little bit too hard, too difficult for just me alone. When it comes to, so that's what it is for fundraising. When it comes to trainings, we do have a couple, so I'll stay on this screen for a little while. There are a couple dates that would be mandatory for trainings. Now, what I did is I tried to make them during second service on a Sunday, and that way the students would be able to go with you to first service together, and then as you leave, you could go get lunch with the rest of your family or brunch or whatever, and they'll be stuck with me. I'll provide donuts or something like that. And then this way, then they can go through these trainings. The fourth training would be a parents and students meeting. So that would be the Sunday before we leave at 10:30. All of this, like I said, is also going to be available on the app, the Church Center app. And so when you go to the events, you can see Apex Reaches Milwaukee, and it'll have all of this information in there as well. The next steps, if you are considering like this, there's an idea that you want to do, would be to pray about it as a family. Ask your teenager and anyone else in your family. Ask if this is something that's for you. Pray about it. Talk to God and ask, like, is this right for our family? Then to complete application, I forgot to put the date on it, but it's going to be the. Yeah, I'll get it to you in a minute. I don't want to misspeak, and so. I'm just going to pull it. I thought I wrote it down here. Okay, it is the 21st. So it's like exactly a month from today. So today's the 21st. The application deadline would be the 21st of next month, and to be submitted with a $75 deposit for the trip. And so that $75 deposit, it's not refundable. So if you were to cancel, that would be with it. Of course, if the student it wasn't selected to go on the trip or anything like that for some reason, then you would get that back. But otherwise, that deposit goes pretty much straight to YouthWorks, and so that's a non-refundable deposit. And that's it. So yeah, a month for that. And now what I'd like to do is basically move into a time. Oh wow, we're 25 minutes in. We might be done way earlier. No one complains about a short meeting, right? So we're going to move into a time of Q&R. And so this is a time for you guys to ask any questions that I might not have answered, and just things that you have questions for me. So I'm going to close out of this real quick.
Kale, this is Doug. Anyone else? Are we combining with anyone else down there, or is it just the Crossview group together?
At this moment, it is the Crossview group alone. And so what I've done is I've reserved spaces, and basically what'll happen is it depends on how many people we bring. And so right now it is technically just us. I have so the application's due on the 21st. I have until I think like the 23rd or 24th or something to cancel what I've reserved, and without any penalty. And then if we don't fill up basically the spaces that they have, then it would very likely have another group with us. Another youth group would be coming down with us. But they did say that if there is another group, especially because of COVID, previous years they would do their best to separate us, and that would be as much as we could. Because of COVID, they've even like upped that separation. So they may be able to have two separate church buildings. They can't like guarantee that stuff for us, but they said that it could be like two separate buildings entirely. So it might just still feel like it's just us, even if there's another team on that same trip. Otherwise, it'll just be in separate portions of the church, and it'll still be very what's the word I'm looking for?
Segregated,
autonomous, right? Like we have our own freedom to be our own DNA in our own group.
Do you have a goal of number of students to bring?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, I would love to bring like 30 students. Would be an amazing number. So when we went to Madison, we had, I think it was, I'm remembering off the top of my head, but I think it was something like 25. But this time it's a little bit different because we're bringing our middle schoolers and the high schoolers, well, eighth grade up. And so I think that's a realistic goal, to shoot for 30 and see what we get. But
Kale, do you have any idea of what would be entailed? What's going to happen during the week we're down there?
Yeah, I can do that. I can't pull it up right now, but basically what they do, what YouthWorks does, is they partner with other organizations. And so generally speaking, like they do have building projects sometimes, but otherwise what they'll be working with is other community organizations and just partnering with them. And so like they might be working with the Pregnancy Resource Center, was kind of one thing. One of the big ones that they generally deal with, and we'll see what happens kind of COVID style. But as of right now, it's still on. One of the big things they do is a lot of partnership with elderly facilities and just introducing our students and caring for them. When we went to Madison, that was, one of the most unique and interesting portions of the trip, because I think a lot of the students kind of went into that like, oh, I don't know if this is fun, or like, like, I don't know if I like this. And it ended up being a lot of our students' favorite thing, because they got to actually like this intergenerational conversation with all these like older people who've experienced things that these kids have never experienced, and so it ended up being a really cool portion of the trip. And a lot of the students had asked like, hey, on our free day, can we go back there? And I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that, so no. But that would be cool, wouldn't it? So it probably will include something like that. And as the trip comes a little closer, and what they're able to do is share with me a little bit more what exactly we'll be doing. But with an organization kind of like YouthWorks, is generally we function with what organizations they've partnered with in the past, and they kind of like are moving a little bit more fluidly throughout the summer with those organizations. But good question.
Kale, is there any working with the homeless? Are you aware?
That's a good question. I can look into that. In that video we saw, it did seem like they were serving community meals. I would bet that they do. I guess I didn't read any specific thing about that, but I would bet that there's at least food shelters that we're going to be working with, and so I would guess so.
Okay, you get 30 students. How many chaperones do you need?
So I generally do kind of a 1 to 4 ratio, or 1 to 4 to 5 ratio is what's best for me, I think for our group. And so I would be looking, if we did have 30 students, it'd be around at least 4 to 5 other adults, not including myself. So 4 to 5 other adults if we had that many students. And we would want to split that down. It depends on, I guess it really would depend on the ratio of male to female too. And so if it ended up being larger females, then we'd obviously want more female leaders, and obviously the other way, same thing. We want more males or whatever. Good question though. Cool. If you have any more questions, feel free to kind of shoot them out and let me know. Also, you can email me at Kale@CrossFit Rapids, and I can answer any of those there. And it would be great. Yeah, great. Any questions, I'm totally willing to answer. Otherwise, any other questions regarding the resources or the summer events or anything like that too? I'll tell you, I'm super excited about Access. Like I said, I've actually been using Access as something I can provide when parents have asked me, because they used to be a pay per service. And so it was like, oh,
you come over to shovel my driveway?
About this specific topic, you got to buy the specific
PDF, about 10
and give it to them or whatever. And so I used to do it when
I don't have to get out the cold
on a specific moment or whatever. You want to see if I can. There we go. Should be better. When specific things would happen, I would just go and buy those resources as the time came. But then they moved to this subscription model, which ends up fitting our church a lot better and our context a lot better. And really excited about it. So super cool. Keep your eye out for that in the Cross Connect room. And like I said, if you want the website access, just let me know, and it's something I can get you to. So. All right. So if there's no other questions, I think what I'll do is I'll pray for us, and then I'll let you go, and you can go and talk to your teenagers. Let them know what's going on. So, all right, guys, you want to pray with me? God, thank you for this time. God, I thank you for technology, that we are able to just talk from the comfort of our own homes. That's pretty cool. And as well as record this, and anybody who's watching this later, God, yeah, just thank you for that blessing. So I pray over these families as they are considering missions and what it means to serve the world through the context of teenagers, God, and as they consider whether or not this is right for their students. And God, I pray that you would be able to move in their families and just be able to enter into these conversations, enter into these decisions, and just lead our parents and lead our teenagers. God, you are good, and we know that in all things. And so, yeah, thank you for this conversation. Thank you for this time, and we pray this all in your name, Jesus. Amen. All right, guys. So what I'll do is I'm going to close this meeting out, and then I will trim up this video, and tomorrow I'll try to get it out on YouTube or whatever. So if you ever want to look back at it again, go for it. Otherwise, find all the application and everything else on the Church Center app. It's all there. So, all right, everyone, have a good night.
Thanks, man.
All right,
Take care.
good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye. Thanks.